Every year, my small American hometown held a food drive called HelpFeedBobby. But no one really knew who Bobby was, and some questions are better left unanswered. I grew up in a quiet town in rural Pennsylvania, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and gossip spread faster than wildfire. We had a diner that never changed its menu, a video store that somehow still existed in the 2000s, and a yearly food drive with the strangest name, HelpFeedBobby. As a kid, I thought it was some inside joke. Maybe Bobby was the town mascot or a local family in need. Every year, posters went up with that same smiling cartoon boy holding a bowl of soup, HelpFeedBobby. But when I asked my parents, teachers, even the mayor once during a parade, they all gave the same vague answer. Bobby represents all the hungry children. Or sometimes, it's an old town tradition. But none of them ever explained why the name stayed the same for decades, or why no other nearby towns participated. When I was 10, curiosity got the better of me. That year, my dad volunteered to help deliver the donated food. I remember him loading boxers into his pickup truck the night before, labeling each with a strange red mark, a circle with a line through it. When I asked where he was taking them, he just smiled nervously and said, "Sorry, sport, grown-ups only." That's when I decided to follow him. The next morning, before dawn, I sneaked into the truck. I found an empty box, crawled inside, and pulled the flaps over me. The truck rumbled to life. 4 hours, I stayed silent, counting bumps in the road and trying not to sneeze. Eventually, we stopped. Primera EA Air Day. Voices other men from town. The sound of boots scraping against gravel echoed all around. Then, someone grabbed the box I was in. "Damn, this one's heavy," a man muttered. He carried me somewhere dark and cold. When he set me down, I waited. Minutes passed. Then I lifted the flap. I froze. I was in a massive underground cavern, lit by lanterns and battery lights. Boxes of food were stacked high, forming small towers against stone walls. In the distance was an opening, not a door, not a tunnel, but a sheer cliff dropping into blackness. And then, the ground shook. At first, it was a low rumble, like a train underground. "Ten primera." "Yeah, RD." Hit a deep growl that vibrated through my chest. Something was moving below. When I looked over the cliff edge, I saw it. A massive orange beak slowly pushed through the darkness, followed by a head the size of a small house, covered in jagged, spiked platis. Its eyes glowed faintly yellow as it rose, like molten glass beneath cracked stone. It opened its mouth wide and waited. That's when I realized what the food drive was for. Bobby wasn't a person. Bobby was this creature, this ancient, impossible thing that lived beneath our town, and every year, we fed it. My dad's voice broke the silence. "Okay, that's the last of it. Another year done." Another man laughed nervously. "Wish we could just poison the damn thing." "Even if we could," my dad said, "what happens when it dies? We're standing on top of it." The others started throwing boxers over the cliff. Each time, the creature's beak opened wider. The sound of boxers bursting echoed like bones snapping. I could barely breathe. I crawled back toward the entrance, trying not to make a sound. When I reached the tunnel, I ran faster than I ever had in my life. I didn't stop until I was back in my dad's truck, heart pounding, ears ringing. He never found out I was there. A few weeks later, I went to the town library. I needed to know what Bobby was. The records were vague, but one thing stood out. The town's founder, Bobby Robertson, had written journals describing a great creature that trembles when hungry. During the Great Depression, the town had nearly been destroyed by unexplained earthquakes until the first HelpFeedBobby drive began. I didn't need to read more to understand. We weren't feeding the hungry. We were keeping something else from eating us. A year later, my dad got a new job and we moved away. I didn't argue. For 22 years, I didn't think about Bobby again until last week. I got nostalgic and searched online for my hometown. But it wasn't there. The town no longer existed. It had collapsed in 2005. The news said it was a cave-in, unstable ground, But I know better. The town council had ended the Help Feed Bobby drive in 2004, and I think Bobby finally got hungry again. If you ever drive through Pennsylvania and see an empty valley where a town should be, don't stop, because somewhere under your feet, Bobby might still be waiting for his next meal.